Welcome students. So today we are going to learn about friction. So we have studied about force and pressure in our previous lecture, and I have described what a friction is. Now we are going to go in detail in this lecture. So what is a friction, right? Friction is a force that opposes motion of an object when the two surfaces are in contact of each other, right? So when you're walking on the road, right, your shoe sole, your foot and the surface is in contact with each other. So that opposes, the friction opposes your motion. So friction always works in the opposite direction. So if you are moving forward, the friction will act in the opposite direction. What causes friction? The irregularities of the surface. So irregularities of the surface. So that means higher the irregularities are, higher the friction is. Smoother the surface is, lesser the irregularities, lesser the friction, right? So we will understand about all these things in this lecture. Now let's understand what are the types of friction, right? So types. So one is static friction, second one is sliding friction, third is rolling friction, and the fourth is fluid friction, right? So what is a static friction? Let's say there is an object that is stationary and you want to move it, right? So the friction that applies when you are moving an object that is in a stationary position is the static friction. That friction is the highest or the strongest, right? So imagine you are moving a big table or a big box which is already on rest and you are trying to move it. So you will have the highest friction on that. Now the next one is the sliding friction. So sliding friction is when an object is already in a sliding motion. So what is a sliding motion, right? Let's say you have a inclined surface, right? And then you have a book, let's say, and the book is already sliding on the surface, on the inclined surface. If you do a gentle push, the book starts to move faster, right? That means the friction reduces, right? So the book is already in sliding motion, already sliding, and then you are doing a gentle push. So this is lesser in comparison to the static friction. So this is how it is, right? So this is greater and this is lesser. Sliding friction is slightly lesser than the static friction. Now next comes the rolling friction. So rolling friction is when you have an object that is rolling on top of another object, right? And that further reduces the friction force, right? That friction is called rolling friction. So let's take an example of a luggage bag, right? Okay. So let's say you have a luggage bag, right? And you have the wheels at the bottom. So imagine a situation when you are going on the airport and you are trying to board a plane, right? So first thing is the porter lifts the bag and put on the scale, right? And then try to push it. So the luggage at that moment is in the position of rest, and that friction is the static friction that is the highest. Now after this luggage bag is put on the scale, if you see, there are cylindrical shapes on which the luggage is kept, and these are like cylindrical shapes, right? And then when the luggage bag is put on that, it starts sliding, right? So that friction is the sliding friction, because the surface of the luggage bag is flat, but the cylindrical structure helps to slide the luggage bag so that it can goes into the container and then eventually get loaded on the plane, right? Now imagine the conveyor belt also, right? So meaning the luggage belt. When you clean the luggage, they put the luggage on it, and then it starts rolling, and it helps in moving of the luggage bags, and so that you can pull it. Now the next way is like if you have a trolley bag, right, and you pick up the trolley bag and you have a wheels at the bottom, right. So imagine you drag a 20 kg bag, right. It has a highest level of friction because it's heavy and it is the static friction that comes into play. But when you have a rolling wheels, you will be able to pull the 20 kg bag. That friction that is smaller than the sliding friction, and it helps you to carry a luggage bag. That is the example of a rolling friction. Now, a fluid friction. This is something that is related to air and water, right? So let's say you have any fluid, and then it depends on the surface area also, right? So that friction is called fluid friction. Imagine fish swimming in the water or birds flying in the air, right? They have to overcome that friction to be able to properly fly or swim in the water. So that depends on the frictional force in the air or in the water for these either birds and the fish to maneuver or move forward, right? So these are the type of friction with the example, right? Let's move on and then discuss about advantages and disadvantages, right? Alright, so is friction advantageous? Yes. So in some cases we need friction, in some cases we don't, right? So what are the advantages of friction? If you are walking on the road, so you see your shoe sole or a vehicle moving on the road, right? Those vehicles are moving because of the rolling friction, right? But vehicles has the tire, the wheels that are treaded, that helps them to stop when they are moving on the road. Your shoe sole helps you to walk properly and not trip and fall. That is because of the friction. So in some cases we need friction. So let's say your shoes and then vehicle wheels, right? Right? When you rub your palm against each other, right, it generates warmth, right? So in winter, that is because of the friction, right? So that generates rubbing of palm against each other, that generates warmth. So that is advantageous. In some cases, friction is important. You have a matchbox and you strike on the matchbox side, and it generates fire. So that is also important. So imagine a matchbox. So these are all the advantages of friction. Now, what are the disadvantages? Right? So the disadvantages are when you are running or using the shoes in the vehicles too much, it causes wear and tear, right? So that is a disadvantage. It causes unwanted heat. So at some places it is good, but it generates unwanted heat also, right? And that unwanted heat, when the vehicle is in motion or the machinery is in motion for a long time, is operating for a long time, it causes wear and tear, and it eventually reduces the efficiency of the machines. It causes wear and tear on your sole of the shoes, and then it gets damaged, right? So those are all disadvantages of friction. Now imagine I am writing on this board, right? That is also because of friction, because my pen tip is rubbing against this wall, and then it is causing the tip of the pen, the friction is causing the rubbing the tip of the pen, and it is helping me to write. So that is also an advantage, that friction can help us to write, right? So these are like small comparison of what are the advantages and disadvantages of friction. Now let's talk about the ways to reduce friction, right? So how do you at some point we need to increase friction also. So how do you increase friction? Why do you increase friction? And then reduce friction, right? So at some places you would need to increase friction. Imagine a gymnast, right? So when a gymnast goes, he or she rubs a coarse material on the hands, because the sweat it works as a lubricant and it reduces the friction, and then he or she may fall, right?
So they rub a coarse material on their hands so that they have a better grip, right? So in that case, that coarse material increases the irregularity between the surface, and then it is helping the gymnast to perform well, right? So in this case, we want to increase the friction. That's why we use that coarse material, right? Where do you want to reduce the friction? So if you want to reduce the wear and tear in the machines, right, you use the lubricant, ball bearings, right, that or the things, oiling and greasing of the machinery parts, that reduces the friction, and it helps the machine to work for a longer time. So in that cases we need to reduce friction. So imagine the sportsman, right, or gymnast using a coarse material, right? And then here let's talk about something that is lubricant, right? So there are places where you have to increase the friction. There are places where you have to reduce the friction. So friction is both important. In some cases we have to increase and we have to reduce. These are all the concept of the friction. What is the friction? What are the types of friction? What are the advantages and disadvantages, and how can we use friction for our own benefits by increasing or reducing the friction. Hope this was helpful for you. We'll continue other topics in the next lecture.